Hi, Phoeben. I decided to take a look at your database right away because I know that you're not going to be able to move forward without my help at this point. So I'm quickly going to take a look at the variables that you discussed in your email. So it looks like it's some of these. The ones I highlighted here are check-all-that-apply questions in your questionnaire. Basically, they are separate answer options in your survey that were part of one question. Basically, what kind of food they eat, which of the following, let's see, is consistently included in your diet. Whoops, this always does that. So with these answer options, as you can see under values, value 1 stands for beans because that's the answer option here in this case. For the next variable, value 1 stands for grains and nuts, and so on. So you will notice that in your database, if you go to data view, that for all of these variables, again, that I highlight here, you see either a 1 or an empty cell. And what that means, of course, is that if there's a 1, it means that that respondent in particular, in this case, this first respondent here, has a diet consisting of grains and nuts, meat and dairy, but didn't select any of the other answer options. So didn't select beans, veggies, fruit, or eggs. That's why it's just blank. Now, this is not a problem. This doesn't mean it's missing data. It just means that this respondent didn't select these answer options. And you can see there's different patterns across all of these different respondents, depending on what items are included in their diet. So it makes total sense. Now, in order to work with these variables, you will need to recode them into 0, 1. So in other words, to make each of these separate variables a binary 0, 1 instead of an empty cell versus 1, you need to recode all these empty cells into zeros. Now, as you can see here, I typed in 0 manually, but it would take way too long to actually go in and manually type in zeros where these empty cells are. So there's a quicker way to do it, and I'll show you how. There is, however, another issue with these variables here, and that I can tell that you indicated that some of these are metric, which I can see by this ruler, the yellow ruler symbol here, which is not correct. If we go back to variable view and we look at these variables here, we see that since they're binary yes or no questions, they will always be nominal. So you have to change here on the right side the measurement level to nominal. So I'll quickly go ahead and do that for you, and I will save the database after this and send it back to you by email so that this is at least a change you no longer have to make. Let me quickly go through this. These are all nominal. Okay, we're there. By the way, I recommend you check the measurement level for all of your variables again, because there could be other mistakes in there, and this is part of your data cleanup, indicating the right measurement level for each of these variables, which of course you know based on the values here and based on what you learned in class. So this is not something I'm gonna do right now for you, but at least I changed these ones here from scale to nominal. Now, back to what we were discussing, and that is changing or recoding these empty cells into zeros so that you have a counterbalance, a counterweight for the 0, 1 variable. So you have a 0 in addition to that 1. So you go to transform, which is here on the top, and then recode into same variables. The reason why we click recode into same and not recode into different variables is because if you click recode into different, you're going to create a new variable. And you don't want that. You just want to keep your database as is. You just want to overwrite the empty cells and change them into 0. So recode into same variables. Now this window opens up as soon as you click that. And so now you want to select these variables here. And I will put all of them in right away. So I'm selecting all of them and clicking them into my menu. And then you click old and new values. When you click it, you want to indicate that the old value, which says right here, old value, value 1, so basically everyone who clicked a certain dietary product as part of their diet, so everyone who clicked it has a 1, so you want in the recoding to keep that 1, so new value remains 1. Click add. Okay, so 1 remains 1. You have to do that. I know it sounds like it's redundant, but you do have to do that. Otherwise, in the recoding process, you lose all those 1s. Now, what do we do with the empty cells? We basically say all other values. So we change this to all other values. So anything except for 1, which is basically in this database, all the empty cells, for those variables at least, will become new value 0. And then you click add. So now you have 1 remains 1 and all else becomes 0. Cool? We click continue and you can ignore this here. You just click OK. Sweet. Now it looks like we didn't do anything, but if you go to data view, you will see now that for all of these variables, all the empty cells that were here before now changed into zeros. So much faster, much more efficient than manually trying to change all of that. Now, as you know, the code book, which is your description of your values here, always has to match your data. So for beans, for example, or grains or nuts, for all of these, currently there's only a label attached to the value 1. But we also now have value 0 in our database. So we click the plus sign and we click on here and type in 0, because now we have a 0 value as well. And basically what 0 stands for is not beans. As in this person, if they didn't select that box or didn't select that answer option of beans, it means they don't typically eat beans. So you click OK. Next variable, you want to do that same thing. This is a bit tedious, but you got to do this. 0 stands for not grains or nuts. Or if you think it's easier to say grains, nuts, not selected, that would work as well. It boils down to the same thing. It's basically saying, hey, they didn't include that answer option, or they didn't select that answer option because it's not part of their diet. So grains and nuts. So not grains, nuts. Okay, don't forget to click OK. And now you got to do this for all of these. So I'll quickly go ahead and do that for you. 0 is not meat. 0 is not vegetables. And here 0 is not dairy. And this one is not fruit. Okay. And then lastly, we have eggs. Oops, 0 being not eggs, so they don't eat eggs. Okay, cool. Now, whenever you make changes like these, such as changing the measurement level, changing anything about the values, or any recoding, you always have to save your data file. So all of these changes will not be automatically saved like Google Drive or like Qualtrics does. So in that sense, SPSS is a little bit more like an old-fashioned Excel document or just like an old-fashioned Word document. You always have to save it to keep those changes. So this answers your question about how to work with these variables. So what you can do from now on. So there are ways to combine this, and I'll send you a separate video on how to combine them. But typically it's left as is. So you can use these as separate, not age, sorry, just these ones. You can use these as separate binary variables. So you could see, for example, in an independent sample t-test, if people who do or do not consume beans regularly in their diet answer differently to a certain question, like how likely are they to try vegan options, for example. So you could do an independent sample t-test now because you have a binary independent variable here. So you can do that. You can always do descriptive analysis. So you can always take a look at, hey, how many people actually clicked beans as being part of their regular diet versus how many people selected that they don't typically eat beans as part of their regular diet. So that's all pretty fun. You can do a quick descriptive analysis here. Let's take a look. Which of the following? Let's take a look at beans. Let's do frequency table. Let's take a look. Okay, so 97 people answered this question, 0 people left it open, as in like 0 people didn't answer your question, which means everyone answered it. That's great. And we see that 61 people out of those 97 do not typically include beans in their diet. 36 people do. This amounts to about a 63% not including beans, and a good 37% do include beans in their diet regularly. So you can kind of do this for each of these separate variables. So for vegetables, for fruit, for meat, and so on. I'm not going to save this output. So this answers your question. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'd be happy to explain. I see that you did name all your variables appropriately already. I see you did go through all of that. So that's excellent. I'm pretty impressed by how cleaned up your database already is. One thing that I wasn't sure if you knew how to fix that. Oh yeah, this is a common question, so I'll just answer it even though you didn't ask it. Commonly students ask why they cannot change age to interval, so to scale or to ratio scale. So you can see it only gives me the answer or the measurement level ordinal or nominal, whereas you know that it is scale, but it doesn't allow you to click it. Now the reason why it doesn't allow you to indicate that age is scale is because the type of variable here is set to string. And the reason why it is set to string is because respondents typed in their age, which means it's a string of characters, like they typed in a string of letters or numbers. Which automatically in SPSS is considered string, and SPSS doesn't know if this is a string of letters or a string of numbers. So you of course know better. Human brain is still smarter than SPSS, so you can go in here and change string to numeric. And as soon as you do so, I clicked string, changed it to numeric, I can now change the measurement level to scale. So now that option does appear. So boom, I did that. So this probably answers the question that either you were gonna ask later or didn't know you had, but now at least it's correct. So I'm going to save this database just to make sure. I'll save it to my desktop and send it back to you. Partially cleaned up. I'll add my name, my last name, and then save it on my desktop. So that's it. If anything else comes up, let me know. Tomorrow I do have a very packed day, but I'll try to check my email over the weekend if you have an additional question. All right.